The War of 1812, a clash between a rising republic and the world's most powerful empire. For 3 years, America and Great Britain fought across forests, lakes, seas, and cities. It was a war of burning capitals, thundering cannons, and desperate charges. It was a war that forged legends, destroyed nations, and reshaped North America forever. In June 1812, President James Madison signed the Declaration of War. America was angry. The Royal Navy had seized hundreds of American ships, stopping them at sea and forcing thousands of sailors into British service. On the frontier, indigenous nations led by the Shawnee chief Tecumseh, supplied and encouraged by the British, resisted American expansion with fierce determination. For Madison and the so-called war hawks in Congress, war was both a defense of national honor and an opportunity to conquer Canada. But the opening moves of 1812 went disastrously for the United States. General William Hull, commanding over 2,000 men, marched from Ohio into Canada toward the British post at Detroit. Hull was aging and cautious. Facing him was Major General Isaac Brock, a bold British commander, supported by Tecumseh and his warriors. Brock used deception masterfully, marching his small force in circles to appear larger. Tecumseh's warriors filled the forests with war cries, amplifying the illusion. Terrified and convinced he was outnumbered, Hull surrendered Detroit without firing a shot on August 16, 1812. Over 2,000 American soldiers were taken prisoner, and British control of the Northwest was secured. The Americans tried again in October. At the Battle of Queenston Heights, New York militia under General Stephen Van Rensselaer crossed into Canada. They initially gained ground, but when reinforcements refused to cross the river, they were left exposed. Brock personally led a counterattack and was killed in action, becoming a Canadian martyr. His troops, with Tecumseh's warriors, crushed the Americans. More than 900 were captured. Once again, the invasion collapsed. While America failed on land, its navy stunned the world. On August 19, 1812, the frigate USS Constitution, commanded by Captain Isaac Hull, faced HMS Guerriere. As broadsides thundered, British cannonballs seemed to bounce off Constitution's thick oak hull. Sailors shouted she was made of iron. In less than 30 minutes, Guerriere was a burning wreck. The legend of Old Ironsides was born. Other victories followed. The USS United States under Captain Stephen Decatur captured HMS Macedonian. The sloop USS Wasp took HMS Frolic. Though Britain still controlled the seas, these victories electrified American morale and gave the young Navy enduring glory. In 1813, the struggle shifted to the Great Lakes. Whoever controlled the waters controlled the frontier. The key was Lake Erie. Commodore Oliver Hazard Perry commanded the American squadron. On September 10th, his flagship, the Lawrence, was blasted into ruins by British broadsides. Refusing to surrender, Perry climbed into a small boat and rowed through shot and shell to the Niagara. There, he unleashed a devastating counterattack. The entire British fleet struck its colors. Perry's message to General William Henry Harrison became immortal. "We have met the enemy, and they are ours." With Lake Erie secured, Harrison advanced into Canada. On October 5, 1813, at the Battle of the Thames, his army of American regulars and Kentucky militia clashed with British troops under Henry Proctor and Tecumseh's Confederacy. The British line collapsed quickly, and Tecumseh was killed in the fighting. His death shattered native resistance in the Northwest. For the United States, it was a turning point. For indigenous nations, it was the end of a dream. The war escalated in 1814. Napoleon had been defeated in Europe, and Britain could now send seasoned troops to America. Their strategy was threefold: invade from Canada in the north, strike the Chesapeake in the east, and seize New Orleans in the south. In August, British forces under Major General Robert Ross landed in Maryland. On August 24th, at Bladensburg, they met hastily assembled American militia under General William Winder. The militia broke and fled almost immediately. President Madison himself witnessed the rout. The road to Washington was wide open. That night, British soldiers marched into the American capital. The Capitol building was set aflame. The White House burned. The Treasury and other government buildings were destroyed. In a single night, the heart of the Republic lay in ashes, but the British advance soon met resistance. They marched toward Baltimore, defended by thousands of Americans and the stronghold of Fort McHenry. On the night of September 13th, British ships rained fire on the fort for 25 hours. Rockets streaked through the sky, shells burst overhead, but the defenders held. At dawn, the massive American flag still waved defiantly. Watching from a British ship, lawyer Francis Scott Key penned the words that would become the Star Spangled Banner. The British withdrew, their advance halted. Meanwhile, in the north, Britain launched its largest invasion of the war. Governor-General Sir George Prevost led more than 10,000 troops into New York, supported by a fleet on Lake Champlain. On September 11, 1814, at Plattsburgh, American naval commander Thomas Macdonough fought with desperate brilliance. His flagship, the Saratoga, was raked by fire, but Macdonough turned her undershot to unleash devastating broadsides. The British fleet was shattered. Without naval support, Prevost retreated, abandoning the invasion. Even as peace negotiations began in Ghent, Belgium, the war raged on in the south. The prize was New Orleans, gateway to the Mississippi. British forces under General Edward Pakenham, veterans of the Napoleonic Wars, prepared a massive assault. Andrew Jackson, the fiery American general, gathered a diverse force: U.S. regulars, Tennessee and Kentucky riflemen, free African Americans, Choctaw warriors, and pirate gunners under Jean Lafitte. That on January 8, 1815, the British advanced in disciplined ranks against entrenched American lines. The earthworks bristled with cannon and muskets. Jackson's men poured fire into the approaching redcoats. The assault turned into a slaughter. More than 2,000 British were killed or wounded, including General Pakenham himself. The Americans lost fewer than 100. It was a stunning victory, yet unknown to the soldiers, the war was already over. The Treaty of Ghent had been signed on December 24, 1814, restoring the borders to their pre-war lines. News simply had not reached New Orleans. The War of 1812 ended without a clear victor. No territory changed hands, but the legacies were lasting. Britain preserved Canada and its global empire. For Canadians, the war became a defining moment of unity and survival. For Indigenous nations, it was catastrophic. The death of Tecumseh and the collapse of his confederacy opened the floodgates to American expansion westward. For the United States, the war was celebrated as a second war of independence. The Republic had survived invasion, endured the burning of its capital, and emerged with new heroes: Oliver Hazard Perry, William Henry Harrison, and Andrew Jackson. Pride and nationalism surged. The Star Spangled Banner waved as a symbol of resilience. The War of 1812 lasted only 3 years, but it forged nations, destroyed dreams, and left a legacy of fire and honor. It was a war without victory, yet it proved that the young Republic of the United States would not only endure, it would rise.